ChatGPT helps me make these videos. My NKVD podcast was 48 pages. If I condensed my show for YouTube manually, you'd be watching an old brown guy collect Social Security. You know who never had AI? Joseph Stalin. Thank God. Hello, my name is Jack, and on this channel we explore the history and methods of secret police forces. Lenin and his Bolsheviks did a revolution, and the Tsar got shot. How did the Soviet government work, though? The USSR was an economic and political union with power divided between the republics and the central government in Moscow. Each republic had workers' councils, or Soviets. Each Soviet elected delegates to their republic's Congress, and the All-Union Congress met periodically. The Central Executive Committee governed between congressional sessions. Soviet citizens participated in elections for both their republic's Congress and the central government's Congress, but the only choice were communists. Lenin didn't live to see his country exchange plows for nuclear bombs, but a certain mustache did. Joseph Vissarionovich Jugashvili was born in Gori, Georgia in December 1878. His family made a modest living since his father, Bessarion, was a cobbler. Little Soso survived smallpox and had a short left arm because of a congenital abnormality or perhaps a carriage accident. The Jugashvilis started struggling with money because Bezos sucked the bottle like he was working for tips. Joseph's mom, Ekaterine, encouraged Soso to attend the Tiflis Theological Seminary and become a priest. Some parents just don't know their children. Joseph found Karl Marx instead of Christ. He rejected the church and joined the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. He became a full-time revolutionary and borrowed the pseudonym Koba from a Georgian novel. He got arrested in 1901 for organizing labor strikes and was sent to Siberia. He escaped imprisonment multiple times. The ease with which he seemed to escape sparked rumors that Joseph was an Okhrana agent, but there is no evidence of this. However, a collab would have greatly benefited both parties. In 1906, he married Kato Svenitsa and had a son named Yakov. In 1907, Kato died at just 22 years old from typhus that hit him deep, bro. Instead of better help therapy, he spent 4 years in exile in Turhansk. Once out of exile, he joined the Bolsheviks. What did he do for the party? Koba was hardworking and a skilled organizer. He also robbed banks because even communists needed cash. He was appointed to the Bolshevik Central Committee, dropped the name Koba, and became Stalin. Stalin became editor of the Soviet newspaper Pravda and helped Lenin evade the cops, contributing to the Bolsheviks' successful revolution. In the Russian Civil War, Stalin served as a political commissar during the Battle of Tsaritsyn, later renamed Stalingrad. Stalin was made General Secretary in April 1922. He oversaw growth of the party membership from around 30 to over 600 members. His scheming personality and the Communist Party were a fitting match. The party was God, and Stalin took charge of the bureaucracy to lay the groundwork for his dictatorship. Stalin's power made Lenin reconsider his choices, but Lenin's poor health meant Stalin assumed more day-to-day operations. Lenin spilled the tea by recommending Stalin's removal in a letter. Historians question the authenticity of this letter for a lack of evidence. Maybe Lenin's wife Nadezhda wrote it because Stalin referred to her once as a syphilitic whore. What are you gonna do? I'm Stalin. When Lenin died, it was go time. Stalin's main rivals, Grigory Zinoviev, Lev Kamenev, Alexei Rykov, Mikhail Tomsky, Nikolai Bukharin, were all accused of some bullshit, tortured into signing confessions, and shot. But then there was Sergei Kirov. Kirov was a charismatic party member whose popularity was seen as a threat by Stalin. One day in December 1934, Kirov was chilling at party headquarters when suddenly a wild assassin appeared and used firearms. It was highly effective. Stalin sensed opportunity and used Kirov's death to initiate the Great Purge, where party members were put on trial and executed for alleged conspiracies. Leon Trotsky had pre-existing beef with Stalin, so he was exiled. Trotsky moved to Mexico and raged against Stalin, who was having none of it. An assassin named Roman Mercader sunk an ice axe into Trotsky's skull. Years later, when Mercader was dying of cancer, he said, "I hear it always. I hear this scream. I know he's waiting for me on the other side. Damn." In 1934, the OGPU was abolished and replaced by the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs, or the NKVD. They were Stalin's boot on the Soviet people. Roughly 40,000 agents were involved in arrests, interrogations, and tortures during the Great Purge. They provided counter-espionage for and committed special-purpose infantry and military hardware to the Spanish Republicans during the Spanish Civil War. They also recruited spies to infiltrate the Manhattan Project. The first NKVD chief was Genrikh Yagoda. He was an anarchist and revolutionary, got arrested for weapons trafficking, then served as a conscript during the First World War. He joined the Cheka in 1919, and by 1920, he could sign for Iron Felix himself. Stalin took interest in Yagoda. However, unlike a good communist, Yagoda required a generous salary to fund his immodest lifestyle. Stalin had Yagoda's residence remodeled at state expense, but in reality, Yagoda was screwing himself because NKVD agents documented his debauchery, potential leverage for Stalin. By 1936, Yagoda couldn't fill the arrest quota fast enough. He was eventually arrested, charged with treason, and executed. In came Nikolai Yezhov. They called him the, quote, bloody dwarf because he was a 5-foot sadist who joined the Bolsheviks after the February Revolution in 1917 and fought in the Civil War. Every grain extorted from peasant farmers made his cock hard, and once in the NKVD's driver's seat, Yezhov intensified the purges. About 46% of party members were purged by 1937. Some officials were demoted to unimportant positions before their arrest, or their subordinates were arrested first, as a warning. You could earn a medal in the morning and then be doing hard labor by tea time.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Even the NKVD killed roughly 3,000 of its own agents. The Red Army's officer ranks bore the most significant reduction. People like Nikita Khrushchev and Lavrenti Beria had their part in the purges as well. In Soviet society, neighbors, colleagues, and families denounced each other. Stalin even had his first wife's family executed. About 12 million people were arrested. Of those, 1.2 million were killed, and many others were imprisoned. By the end of the purge, Gulag is an acronym for the Soviet labor camp system. Gulags were forced labor camps for political prisoners and criminals. Unlike Nazi concentration camps, where the purpose was extermination, gulags were a tool for the Soviet regime to keep the people in line. Roughly 400 camps scattered the Soviet Union. Each major city had at least one camp nearby. Some camps held just a few dozen prisoners, and others held thousands. In Kolyma, nearly 500,000 prisoners toiled in negative 50-degree temperatures for gold. If you didn't meet your quota, you didn't eat. I read an account where a group of starving prisoners chopped up a doctor and did a cannibalism. Roughly 10% of the Gulag population were women. Men and women were supposed to occupy separate camps, but that didn't always happen. Pregnancy and STIs resulted. Sometimes pregnancy meant a break from hard labor, and the NKVD had special facilities for Gulag children. Speaking of cannibalism, the NKVD forced resettlement to collective farms in the Far East, including Nazino Island, where nearly 7,000 people slept outdoors. NKVD guards withheld rations or traded bread for sex. Prisoners formed gangs to hunt down and eat other people, like some literal Hunger Games. This photo you'll often see presented as Nazino Island, but after hours of research, I think the island in the photo is this strip of land, and Nazino Island is actually just over here. But I've never been there, so what do I know? In December 1938, Yezhov was dismissed from the NKVD. Nobody's really sure what happened to Yezhov. He either hung himself or confessed to being gay and was shot. Whatever the case, the Soviets photoshopped him out of existence.
How about a magic trick?
That's basically it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Agents dismissed.